Alright, spawning on the left-hand side, we've got Necromanticer. The opponent to the top right, Tiki Gray. Okay, we are in a best-of-7 series here, so this is going to be a slugfest. I mean, the bare minimum, if it's a clean sweep, it's 4 matches. So we've got a decent amount of content tonight. It's going to be pretty fun. Tiki Gray, running no squirrels. I think that's something he's been doing quite often lately. The turrets are interesting. I think Tiki's actually been playing a lot with the MGs. I think he leverages those when he knows he's doing something a little bit greedy, and the opponents kind of sniff them out, you know, can just quickly build a turret or two to kind of get away with it. And meanwhile, Necro's playing a little bit more kind of regular in a way, I suppose. I mean, again, no squirrels here, but we have seen that quite often. And Lizard Toad has a little bit more of that variety in the Tier 1 slot. Typically, we say it's a bit greedy to just run one of the core Tier 1 units, because in a case like this, you could be just stuck with only lizards versus toads. So I'm curious if Tiki's going to get punished for that, or if it's not going to really matter so much this game. Alright, nothing crazy yet. Looks like 8 farm doubles from both sides. Now, this map is pretty nice here for Necro. Most of the real estate is on his side of the equation. I guess if you... Well, I kind of take that back. I mean, if you look at it, I guess Tiki's also got 3 bases, you know. But I feel like I'd rather be on Necro's side here. For one, it's going to be very difficult for Tiki to actually get back here and attack either one of these bases. And for 2, Tiki's going to be very spread out. You know, this is a really contestable natural. It's very easy for Necro to attack in, blindside you, you know, grab a pig or something when your commander's out of position. Additionally, Tiki can take this right-hand base over here at the 3 o'clock. But I think that's a little bit far away. Let's see how this plays out, though. No second base yet for either player, and I think this is something I've seen Tiki do quite a bit lately. Yeah, Necro's going to be able to run in here and just grab a pig, because Tiki's lizards were more positioned in anticipation for a runaround attack from the backside. So nice little victory there for Necro, already looking good. Getting into this lizard-toad composition, going to add in the falcons to try to burst down the opponent's tier 2. Necro did scout that tier 2 during the attack. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these nice second bases. So yeah, what's the game plan here if you're Tiki? I mean, you can try to just expand here. You know, I mean, with the MGs, that actually might end up working quite nicely for Tiki, because you'd be in a position where you could build the turrets in such a spot that is not only defending your second base, but also kind of contesting the main base of your opponent. Necro coming in here for a big attack. Nice micro from Tiki to try to avoid most of those toad shots. However, does expose one of the skunks there. Gets taken out. So overall, a decent trade. From the army graphs there, it looks like Tiki lost a bit more than Necro did. But Tiki is still on only 1 base here. Maybe the plan is a big move out with the skunks. But we're getting to the point where you really got to consider that second base, or go for some kind of 1 base all in, you know, like your tier 3 that you hid is finishing up now or something like that. Alright, now Tiki takes this natural, and again, these turrets are going to be a godsend here for Tiki. Going to make this a lot easier to maintain this position. Now, Necro does have some barbed wire, which he could also build to be annoying against the lizards. I'd love to even see some barbed wire right here before, I was going to say before the territory changed. Right there on Tiki's little edge here. Yeah, just a couple pieces going to come up there. And we might get into a little bit of a standstill. And, you know, that Snake Owl composition is quite nice in the late game, but Necro has Wolf Falcon. I think we like to see the Wolf with Chameleons a little bit more. But Skunks can definitely get the job done in a similar manner. You know, you get enough Skunks up there, especially with the Wolf buff, they can do a good job tanking all the mice. And you got your Falcons to do the real damage in the back. So this is actually going to become a little bit of a macro game. And again, I like Necro's position so far better. I like the map better for him. Yeah, I think he's just going to tank through that barbed wire with the lizards. Nice call when Necro wasn't in position to do anything about that. Not a big economic loss for Necro since the wire is so cheap, but, you know, taking that damage, maybe losing a lizard, maybe losing nothing, it's much better to get that taken care of now than right before a big fight. Tiki gonna come in and try to get down some pre-skunk gas. Gonna get punished by these falcons though. One of those skunks does die. And Necro is looking for the toad connections. So, oh, beautiful job by Necro, really holding down that toad button until he got those toads right in the middle of that lizard pack there. Getting some great connections. And this might just be too much. Let's see. Necro's still got all of his tier 2 together. He's starting to break through. The turrets are gonna go down now. Keep in mind, Tiki does have a lot of tier 1 Warrens here, which means that he can reproduce units very, very quickly, but all of the core units are still alive for Necro. He's getting that economic damage done, and that is going to be it. Tiki sees the writing on the wall, taps out, and the first map goes to Necro. Let's keep it rolling. Game number 2. Spawning on the bottom, we've got Tiki Gray rocking the same deck, and up top, Necromanticer with a couple adjustments, getting rid of the skunks and instead grabbing that cam. And he dropped another unit. He dropped the wire for the turrets. I like these adjustments. The wire or the turret, I think, is kind of personal preference. I think they're both good for different reasons. But I definitely like throwing in the chameleons. And I'm curious if that's going to hamstring him in that mid-game where the skunks really shine. But he will be able to get to a better late-game composition with the Wolfcam Falcon versus the Owl Snake. And this is a big map, so we might see that late-game part of the series here, which would be really cool. I love those big, fat late games where we get up to these death ball armies, they collide, but no one really quite wins. You know, you gotta go home, sell stuff, and then become scrappy later on as it's hard to find resources. Like, those are always really fun positions to be in as both a player and a caster. I'm not anticipating any early aggression here, and I'd imagine we will see Tiki take a quicker second base. Actually, I kind of do a similar thing when I play in certain games. I try not to do it every game because you do want to change up your builds and your decks so you're not predictable. But it is actually really cool to like delay your natural and get those tier 2 up and running. Do like a nice like 12 tier 1, you know, a tier 2 push, and just kind of go in and shoulder check the opponent. And if they're doing anything like building too many farms on their second base or trying to hide a tier 3, like you might just win the game right then and there. So Necro going for a very fast tier 2. Tiki's going to respond with some snakes, the snakes being the correct blind counter in this position, as they are pretty good against those chameleons. But Tiki will have a slight economic lead. Meanwhile, Necro will have the army technical lead, but I'm not sure if Necro will really be able to get anything done with it. Let's see. Like, he's missed the window where he had a tier 1 and his opponent didn't. He could maybe still try to strike when he's got 2 tier 2, but no, it doesn't look like it's going to really work out. But in the end, you know, we get to a similar spot. No harm, no foul. Okay, no, Necro is going to move in. He's only got 1 chameleon here on the front lines, though. The chameleon's going to do pretty good against the lizards, but Necro really wants to kill that snake, and no, he's just not going to commit. I think that's smart. Take the losses and go home, not risk losing that chameleon to the snake poison. And yeah, we're macroing up from here. This is going to be a greed race, so basically what the players are looking for here is they're just counting how many farms that the opponent's putting on the second base. That's what's really important. Sometimes you can get in a little bit of trouble in these situations if you are mainly like farm scouting. You know, you might leave yourself open to the opponent taking a quick tier 3 or something like that. But typically at very high levels of play, we don't see... Oh, very nice job from Necro, by the way, knocking out those exposed snakes. Oh, but one snake is... Oh, okay, barely goes down. So just a pure army trade there. Both players really trading nearly the same amounts there. But yeah, what I was going to say is, like, most of the time when you're scouting in this phase of the game, you're mainly just looking for how many farms are on that second base. You can get caught off guard that way, though, if you don't actually get in for the full deep scout by a quick tier 3. But that's not really popular nowadays, just because it can be punished so hard. A lot of times where we tend to expect the tier 3 to come out is after that second base has been fully saturated, and maybe you're like working on the third base, you know, you've got up like 2 or 3 tier 2 Warrens at this point. Another thing too is it is sometimes literally like impossible to get all the way down there. If the opponent's got a large enough army, it's got him placed correctly. Yeah, and there's that wolf coming out from Necro, but as you can see, Tiki's actually going for a very similarly timed owl. However, Tiki maybe sold off those last couple of building farms for it. Or maybe, I don't think he ever built them in the first place. Necro not going to be able to get in. And this is where the players are kind of like, alright, what's your master plan? What are you going for here? Is it a bunch of tier 2? Is it a tier 3? Good scout there by Tiki. Gets the information he was looking for. Oh wow, Necro is turtling up here, building a ton of turrets. I'm curious why that's the case. Oh, I think he's... Okay, actually, I think I know. Necro knows that Tiki scouted the tier 3, so Necro is anticipating a big attack to come in right before the wolf is on the board. But Tiki's actually going the opposite route of when you scout a tier 3. He's getting so many tier 3 of his own. Both players building up some turrets. Both players are worried that the opponent might attack them while they get into their master plan. Yeah, Necro is super worried, man. Even building more tier 1. Just kind of bracing for impact. Like, alright, this attack is coming any second now. That's pretty interesting. Alright. So the game is moving along here. Those main base farms are about to be fallowed out completely. Third bases are up and on the way. These turrets are actually going to be pretty good against mice. I think people underestimate how well turrets can actually deal with owls. You know, you need a certain number of turrets, but once you get to like 3 or 4 like stacked right next to each other, they can mow down those mice pretty nicely. But Tiki's a clever player and would simply send the mice where the turrets are not. And I would love to see Necro like build a big turret line like right here in the center, or Tiki Gray even. You know, it looks like Tiki's already kind of working on that. He can like leapfrog him up forward a little bit more. But Tiki managed to get out 3 owls. While Necro was worried about the big attack. Gonna just move in with the mice and get some nice value. These toads are not what you want here. What Necro really needs is more tier 2 at the moment. Once the owls hit the board, your tier 1 is a little bit null and void. You know, the mice are just kind of stronger, jacked up tier 1 units. You know, most of the time when the mice crash in, your tier 1 are gonna die. It's the tier 2 that really have the chance of surviving the impact. And you can see Necro's doing that, but he's doing it conservatively. You know, he didn't like straight up sell all the tier 1 off to go right into tier 2. He's keeping up some tier 1. And it is always nice to have like 9 lizards, you know, so you can run around and try to juke your opponent and flank and that sort of thing. But Necro is ready to roll. He wants to bait out these mice. He wants to deal with these mice before the big engagement. These toads actually, while not cost effective against the mice, they do a good job of AoEing them all down and allowing a vulnerable opportunity for you to strike while the mice are reloading. But Necro decides to pull back for now. And so far, this game is looking good for Tiki. Every time he slams in with these mice, he's just getting more and more value. Yeah, once you get these cams, once you get these turrets, and hell, these toads are not doing bad, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not cost efficient, but the toads are preventing other units from dying. Yeah, finally, Necro does sell those toads off. I don't think Necro's really got a good scout in a while. He's not really sure what's going on with that third base. Yeah, I'd love to see these farms being planted more on the 4th. Definitely a lot safer. And I feel like there's a critical number of mice here. Ooh, those snakes, though. Knocking out a Falcon, knocking out a Cam. Yeah, there's so many owls here, man. Necro really needs some more chameleons here on the ground to deal with it. And this is what happens when you try to go to the late game when your opponent's got the owl. It is so difficult to deal with this comp. You know, I think you really need a lot more chameleons. Oh, don't want to lose the wolf here. Need a lot more chameleons, maybe even some pigeons, to be honest. This is holding up for the time being. Now that these 4 cams are out, you know, losing a turret every couple waves, but no critical damage. And these lizards are a bit of a liability. I think Necro needs to be into, like, pure tier 2 at this point. I don't know, man. Maybe Tiki's just gotten too much value with the superior economy over time. All the chameleons are falling, and Necro is not getting any real damage done against these owls. And this looks like it could just be a slow burn victory here for Tiki, unless Necro can really figure something out. I think it was close. I think the tier 1 is really hurting, because that's constantly just digging into the banks. You know, every one of these engagements, a lot of lizards are dying. And I think he just didn't quite have the chameleon count he was looking for. Yeah, he knows. Too far behind there. Taps out. And Tiki ties the series up 1-1. Alright, let's keep it going. Game number 3. Spawning at the bottom, we've got Necro. And the opponent to left, Tiki Gray. Alright, this time around, Necro with the owls. Very tier 1 heavy deck. You know, Squirrel, Toad, Mole definitely means business with some skunks. So maybe Necro is looking to apply the pressure in that early game, maybe catch Tiki trying to be too greedy. And then he's got the owls to back it up if it gets to the late game. Meanwhile, Tiki Gray is using more of a bruiser deck here. Just looking for a powerful mid-game composition. Not actually trying to get to that hyper late game, you know, with 3, 4, 5 bases like last map. So nice adjustment here from both players, really. I kind of like Tiki's deck better for this. I think Tiki's deck has a lot of tools to, like, get in there before Necro can really get to the owls, and with Necro's deck here, it's like, yeah, the owls are nice, but there's no snakes to pair with them. So something like a badger or boar could be pretty rough. And it looks like there was a little bit of, Pop Goes the Weasel with tier 1 Warrens in the pre-8 farms. But we settled out to just some 8-farm doubles here. Let's see how the game progresses. This map does look favorable for Necro, I think. I like those 4 expansions, like kind of heading towards the 3 o'clock. This base from Tiki looks really awkward, but it's actually not as bad as it seems. Oh wait, yes it is. I was going to say there's no way to get up on this high ground, but there actually is right next to these trees. So Necro could really abuse this high ground and just win the game straight up if Tiki really commits to that expansion. However, Tiki does have some options. Can go over to the 12 o'clock and expand into the 1 o'clock from there. So I'm curious which one he decides to go for. But again, we're caught in this tier 1 chicken phase. Neither player wants to commit to higher tech or to an expansion just quite yet. And this is a pretty medium-sized map, I feel like. Like, these rush distances are a bit short, but not, like, crazy short. Oh, and Tiki's going for the skunks now. If Necro just kind of moves out, builds some moles, maybe he just steals this game. Gonna go for the campfire instead for now. It's a shame Necro didn't decide to pull the trigger as that tier 2 went down. But not a big deal. Now he sees the tier 2. Actually, double tier 2 from Tiki. Alright, so this is it, man. You got the moles. Did he see the double tier 2, though? Because 1 tier 2 versus 2 is actually a really important distinction. No, he didn't see it. But I still feel like Necro wants to get feisty. No, gonna go for the tier 2. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go, boys. Alright, throw down those mole warrens. What's up, Woody Pun? Thanks for the raid, man. You're coming in right as Necro is about to try to punish Tiki for getting up to 4 skunks so quickly, but no, changes his mind. Takes it back home. And instead is going to start working on his first owl. I'm not so sure if that's going to work, though, because Tiki is almost ready to move out here. Probably just waiting for the 4 skunks. He could go defensive with this. Could just grab this mill. Yeah, and that looks to be the play. Tiki does have pigeons, which could help deal with this pesky high ground if that ever does come into the equation. Alright, Tiki's moving in, but there's a lot to deal with this here. Mostly in the tier 1, however. And those toads, Necro did a cool job of, like, holding out the toad explosions to get, like, the best possible connections. But a lot of toads died during that process, and Tiki just slams through with the quadruple skunks here. Losing a couple, but definitely took a much better trade. Knocked out that campfire. And this owl is a pipe dream at this point for Necro. All of his resources are going into rebuilding the tier 1. Gonna sell off some tier 1. Gonna hope this turret helps get him by until this owl is finished. But the owl is not that super impactful tier 3 you're looking for in a situation like this, like a boar or a badger or something. The owl needs time and it needs friends to really get going. But Tiki is gonna back off for now. Transition into some falcons. Did Tiki see the turrets? I wonder if the turrets are what made him back up, but decides not to fully commit to the engagement. Owl number 2 is on the way. And now Tiki did scout that owl, but he scouted it right as Necro threw it down, so Tiki's probably not aware that an owl is already here on the map. Oh yeah, Necro's looking to abuse this high ground. But unfortunately, there's not really any farms here yet. Just they want it so bad, but they can't get it. Nice reshuffle, but nope, not gonna quite work yet. But Tiki's got a pretty good anti-owl comp coming up. And yeah, look at these pigeons. I think pigeons might be... What are these mice doing with this pathing? I think the pigeons might be one of the missing parts of the equations in a lot of owl defenses. Like, maybe those pigeons really make the difference between losing your tier 2 or keeping them, you know? And as you can see, a lot of tier 2 here with some pigeon backup doing pretty okay against the owls so far. Necro desperately trying to retreat to this second base. Gonna pull around. The owl goes down, though, and I think that's a tap there from Necro. Tiki going up 2-1 in the series. But this is a best of 7. So Necro's not on his last life just yet. Let's keep it going into game number 4. If it'll load, there we go. Spawning on the right side, we've got Tiki Gray rocking the ferrets, and over on the left, Necromanticer. Alright, this is a map, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy. Oof. Okay, so map looks better for Tiki because this is a natural expansion. It's a bit far away, but it's manageable. Meanwhile, Necro's really got nothing in like the general spawn area. You're gonna really have to stretch up to the top of the map to start taking over some of those mills. Necro not gonna be happy with a spawn like this. However, it is playable. It's just kind of funny where it's like we've got the left side, we've got the right side, and we've got most of these mills just like in a line in the center. So what that says to me is that this most likely won't be a very long game. We'll probably see some decent aggression. The relatively middle of the road size map But speaking of road, there is quite a bit of it here, right in the center, which can really make a difference for attacks specifically, because it helps your reinforcements get to the front line faster. A couple scouting mines coming out here for Tiki. Yeah, this is rough. This is sometimes the hand you get dealt with random map generation here. I mean, Necro could try to, like, take this base as a natural, you know? But let's see what the plan is. And I'm excited for the ferrets. I'm curious if Tiki is going to utilize them. I like that he's got the owl snake to fall back on, as he's kind of playing around with this lizard ferret mine situation. Lizard ferret mine is actually pretty cool. You know, when you're going to use a unit like the ferrets are really swingy units, you know. They can be so oppressive in certain situations and just kind of useless in other ones. So what the lizards do is they help... Oh, hold on. Necro's going to try to attack while these mines are building. Actually, probably could have taken that engagement, but pulls back just to be safe. Picks off 2 mines there, but loses a couple lizards in the process. But the lizards give you more oomph with your ferrets than the squirrels do. And you don't really need the squirrels for their poke. I think since we are in more of a lizard meta, a lot of people kind of are underestimating squirrels or kind of scratching their heads like, well, why would I ever build squirrels when lizards seem better in most cases? And honestly, one of the reasons squirrels are still relevant is the poking. You know, you can really punish an opponent and bait them out of their defensive warren position by just poking with those squirrels, and lizards don't have that capability. But they pair nicely with the ferrets, with the mines. I love the ferret mine idea. That's really cool. You know, poke with the ferrets, bait them into your mines, take the engagement. But one thing that's cool, too, about ferrets is sometimes you can just have it as, like, your Swiss Army knife pick, you know? Like, have a decent core besides the ferrets, and then it's like, okay, if the situation is good for ferrets, I can bring them out, but my whole game plan isn't based around it, right? Necro trying to fight pure lizard versus squizzard here. And another advantage of the squirrels is sometimes in, like, choke points like this, a lot of the lizards can't find tiles to really attack from. More and more mines being placed down by Tiki. I love how much Tiki's been abusing this little one-tile high ground for mine placement, because the mines are being triggered by these lizards running around, and that is coming quite in handy. So far we have some nice micro here, a cool little skirmish going on, but if Tiki Gray gets away with this expansion, he'll slowly start taking the lead, especially as the 5-minute mark comes. And Tiki is holding firm so far. You know, and you just kind of sneak out a pig every now and then in between some of these fights. And this is rough for Necro, you know, any way you slice it. If Necro wants to play the eco game and wants to expand, he's going to have to take one of these 2 bases. Taking this base from Tiki was very smart. And it's going to be hard to hold either one of those bases because of that high ground position from Tiki. Plus the ferrets could poke it later on. But Necro feels like he's just lost too many of those little engagements there. Taps out. Tiki going up 3-1 in this series. And then after this series, we're going to have some more fun hat drawings. That's going to be a good time. Game number 5 here. Let's get into it. Spawning on the right-hand side, we've got Necromanticer. And his opponent to the left, Tiki Gray. Alright, Tiki Gray going back to kind of the tried and true deck, really from both sides here. But Necro opting for the snakes rather than falcons with that Cam Wolf style. I love this Cam Wolf Falcon style. I want to be a believer. You know, I want to say it can stand up to the Owl Snake in the late game, but I think we've just got to see a little bit more evidence first. And I think maybe the pigeons are a missing part of it. You know, Cam, Falcon, Pigeon, Wolf. Maybe that's the way to deal with it. But honestly, I really do think the best way to deal with that Owl Snake late game is to just not let them get there. You run a bruiser deck like Tiki did in one of the previous matches. Something like, you know, Squizzard and then a bunch of tier 2. You know, maybe even Pigeons in there. But it's hard to tell, you know, and that's what makes Tooth and Tail so interesting is that random deck selection. Not really random, but random for you. You don't know what your opponent is bringing. So you might run that mid-game bruiser style against your, you know, owl opponent where they run a fox or something that's really good against a lot of tier 2. Ooh, wow. Super greedy from both sides this game. Both players just going 8 farm, right into expansions, right into a bunch of farms on those second bases. And let's see, a couple lizards coming in from Necro. Gonna punish Tiki if he decides to just go full greed mode here. Farm man, 16 farms at the 230 mark, and no Tiki. Gonna get his own Lizard Warren, gonna build that emergency turret. Oh wow, Necro's gonna be farm man. Keeps that one Lizard Warren. This is actually good from Necro here. You know, he delayed Tiki's economy a bit, forced out that turret that wasn't needed. Necro does need to be careful though, because Tiki is building into a lot of lizards, and if Necro doesn't follow suit very quickly, he might actually just get overran and straight up lose the game. If the Chameleon gets out, that would be awesome. The Chameleons are going to do great against the lizards on defense. But I'm worried, man. Tiki's got a very significant lizard lead at the moment, but no, Tiki is still worried. Building that turret. Okay, now Tiki's moving out. Gonna grab this cabin. Maybe he actually avoids the mines. Ooh, being so sneaky with this attack. This is getting set up to do so much damage. 1 pig goes down, 2 pigs go down. And Tiki actually could probably contest most of that, but the Chameleon comes out just in the nick of time. Now is Necro gonna go for a big counterattack here? Tiki actually lost a ton of lizards there, even losing most of the rest of them there with that mine hit on the way out. Yeah, Necro's got a lot of tempo here. That attack looked like it was really good for Tiki, but losing that many lizards to kill a couple farms. I probably would have been more hyped for it if we were on 1 base, but when you're on 2 base, huge economies like this, you know, a couple of those pigs isn't the end of the world. But Necro really needs to know that Tiki is going for this double owl. Like, that is so important. For Tiki to identify that, to attack in. Or, I'm sorry, Necro to identify that and to attack in while Tiki has 720 food wrapped up in that double tier 3. Necro really needs a deep scout here. Sees the double turrets. Is that enough? And this is the moment. If Necro moves out right here, this is the best time. But that's easy for us to know, and hard to identify as a player. And busting through these turrets is a lot easier said than done. Maybe Necro is going to wait for all the Chameleons to come out. Yeah, I mean, look at that. 4 turrets, you gotta know what's up now. And this is actually such a good spawn for the style that Tiki is looking to do. Got 3 bases packed in nice and tight behind the trees. Can very easily defend all 3 bases with a bunch of turrets at the front. Now, this turtle style does give Necro the advantage of being able to spread out on the rest of the map, but you know, I love all these mines, trying to get ready for the lizards, but going to be very ineffective against the owls here. Oh, and Tiki's moving out. Necro's not in position to micro his units right at the beginning of this battle. All the Chameleons get exposed and take some snake fire here. Necro's looking to punish this. All the mice are currently depleted, but does he have enough punch left? All of these cams just getting decimated. You know, this snake owl combo is just so strong. What is the right composition to beat it? Another engagement here, but it's already looking really good for Tiki. These snakes adding so much versatility to this army comp, being able to poison down the chameleons so effectively. And that's kind of where the falcons come into play with the cam falcon. You know, the falcons ideally burst down the snakes. Necro with some of his own snakes here, getting a lot of that tier 2 weak, but Tiki is already on his way to 5 owls. And the 5 owls are almost here. 4 owls already on the board. Necro's third base had taken some hits. He really needed a good engagement there, but no. Does not quite work out. Tiki Gray with the 4-1 victory.